and this is sort of the kickoff for it. So if you're interested in sports psychology, performing under pressure, effective leadership, or overall athlete well-being, please sign up. I'm going to pass a piece of paper around, and you can write your name down in a minute. So today we are so fortunate to have Joey Hewitt, a mental skills coach, with us today. I actually met him when I was struggling with soccer and performing under the stress of my peers, my coaches, my parents, and like myself. And I was at a point where I had all the skills to be successful, like technically, but I wasn't able to actually perform in high stakes situations. But after working with him and utilizing the skills he taught me, last season I actually played some of the best soccer that I've ever played. Like, no joke, the best soccer I've ever played. And Joey works with athletes of all levels, all ages, so from high school, recreational, to collegiate and professional. And he reaches even more people with his social media, with over 80,000 followers. And he also has a very unique perspective of both an elite athlete, because he's a former professional basketball player, and also a coach. So please welcome Joey Hewitt.
I appreciate everyone being here. This is awesome. I love that you're starting a sports psych club. It's definitely something that I wish I knew when I was your age. I didn't learn about any of this stuff until I was a freshman in college, and this is just the only thing I will say about myself. This is kind of like my story. I was pretty good at basketball growing up, but I was always like the shortest kid. I was 5'5" as a freshman in high school and like 115 pounds soaking wet. So I really struggled from a mental point of view based on that. I was always just thinking I was too small, I was too short. Eventually I did hit a growth spurt around my junior year of high school. However, I noticed that the mental blocks were still there. So although I was 6'1", 6'2", I still felt like I was 5'6", 5'7", and my body language and my energy kind of reflected that. It wasn't until I got to college, which, like I said, I was good enough at basketball to get to college. However, and this is, a great lesson, eventually those, insecurities or those issues or those fears, those doubts, you're never going to get away from them. They're going to come back up. Because once I got to college, I got there as a freshman. I went to Whitman College. It's a small Division III school in Walla Walla, Washington. And when I got there, I was thinking, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm going to play right away. My coach told me I was really good, so I'll get there and it'll be fine. And it wasn't. I got there and I was like the worst player on the team. I was 12 hours away from home. I didn't feel any sense of comfort. It was my first time living away, and I really hit rock bottom. I struggled a lot, not only on the court with performance anxiety, but also just general anxiety. Being at school in class, I noticed my grades weren't doing well. I was starting to socially kind of isolate myself a little bit. And then I did something that was the hardest thing for me to do. It's definitely something that I think is the strongest thing you can do, especially as an athlete, is I asked for help. I asked my coach at the time, I said, hey, like something's not right, like I don't feel good and I need help. And that's when he got me in touch with a mental coach, someone who does what I do now, and I started to learn about all of the things within what I like to call the mental game. So once I started learning about that, everything kind of started to change for me. I started to, be more grateful for the situation I was in. I started to live more in the present moment. And I started to focus on what I could do rather than focusing on the fact that my coach is, screwing me over, or I'm not getting any play time when I'm better than some of these other players. And instead, I changed my perspective and I started to focus on different things. And then everything kind of started to click. It all started to happen for me. So my story is not a story of success. I'm going to be completely honest. My story got to that point eventually, but even then, once I felt like I figured it out and it clicked, it is still a daily battle for me to win the mental game. And I think that's a testament to no matter who you are. If, I've been doing this stuff for 10 years, as an athlete and also now as a coach, and I still feel like I need to work on it every single day. So no matter what position you're in regards to your sport journey or even just your life journey, just know that the mental game is not something you can run away from, but it's something that you can definitely get better and better and better at every single day. And I like to think of the mental game as just a set of skills, just like any skills you have technically in your sport. So, if you play basketball, shooting is a skill. If you play soccer, you're dribbling, your touch is a skill. but in the mental game, there's other skills that are just as important if you want to get better. So what I want to do to start is I just want to go deeper into that phrase, the mental game. You guys are at tables, so I think that'll be perfect. And I want you to just talk with each other, and I want to ask you one question that you can talk about. When is it hardest for you to win the mental game? And if you struggle to understand what the mental game is, I think that would be a great place to start. You know, if someone's like, hey, what is the mental game? Try and figure out what do you think that means to you. But I'll give you guys a minute or two to just talk about really in your groups. When is it hardest for you to win the mental game? So go ahead, take about a minute.
Is it our students?
It can be for your kid, for your people, or in your too. I think it honestly might be better to do the second one.
You're under pressure. For me, it's both pressure and pleasure. So like, if there's something at stake that I really want, it's much harder to focus on that. No matter what, if you're losing or if you're winning, thinking about the outcome.
Yeah. Does desire sound?
It can be, but I think
It can be one source.
it can be a
Yeah, but I think I'll have you go.
So I'll talk about how I deal with my child. I didn't know this, and I thought I did, but I couldn't. What is it? Tastes kind of shady. And I thought I didn't. Yeah, she had a mental breakdown a week or 2 weeks ago. And she told me her coach told them, oh my God, there's too much pressure. And so then we have to learn step back. But then her mental coach doesn't want us to use pressure. Because then you're putting yourself there's pressure.
So just even addressing the topic creates like this. No, I was talking.
All right, you can finish up. And I'd love to hear maybe just one thing from each table in regards to just what do you think the mental game is, or the question is when is it hardest for you to win the mental game? So anyone who can share either what they said or what one of their table mates said. Yes.
So on my club team for soccer, there's this kid that pisses me off a lot. And it got to the point where I can barely play on the same field as him without being completely distracted. How much he pisses me off. So, yeah.
That's very relatable. Very relatable. And I think we all can relate to that, either with it, whether it's a teammate, whether it's a coach, or whether it's a person on the other team who you hate playing against. It's very, very common. So yeah, I think for you, I would say the number one thing is understanding what does that do to your emotions. When you feel like you have a bad teammate or a bad coach, notice the moments when you really get riled up. If you can be aware of those moments, that is the number one step of the mental game. You have to be able to be aware of the moments that make you frustrated. But very relatable. I feel you, bro. Yes?
We talked a lot about how hard it is when there's people right next to you that are doing a lot better than you, and how hard it is to focus on yourself and on your own achievements instead of just that they're doing a lot better than you, they have better form than you, they're stronger than you, just think more of yourself.
I love that. What sport do you play?
Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah. So every time I'm in the weight room, there's someone right next to me lifting a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all can relate to that too, in the sense of, I feel that at even just going to the gym recreationally. It's you can either focus on your set and what you're doing, or you can look over at that, that guy lifting 100-pound weights, just looking buff, and you're like, wow, I wish I could be him, or I wish I could be her. And I think that is rooted in the idea, everyone knows it, right? Comparison is the thief of joy, but naturally we all have that instilled in us and ingrained in us. And for his example, I said the biggest thing is awareness. I think, for your example, the biggest thing is acceptance, being able to understand and accept the fact that there's gonna be people who are better than you in your sport, there's gonna be people who are worse than you in your sport. It really just comes down to what you choose to focus on. If you accept the fact that, like, hey, I know I'm not gonna be the best, but I'm just trying to get better myself, then all of a sudden you've shifted that perspective. But very relatable example, I think, for everyone. Yes?
From the adults table, we talked about practice and two aspects of practice. One is sort of having the discipline to practice in preparation for games, because games are much more fun than practice. And then the other aspect of practice was being a superstar in practice or on the range or on the tennis courts, but then not being able to translate that to actual performance in a game.
Right.
That's a big problem.
Yes, that's something I personally struggle with a lot, especially as I got taller and I would play better in practice, but in games I'd start to feel all of the anxiety come back up, and I think, it's very natural. I think a lot of people, one of my favorite quotes is, in times of pressure or in big moments, we don't rise to the occasion, we fall to the level of our habits or our standards, and I think that is kind of something that I wish I knew earlier, right? Because you're supposed, in practice, it should feel better than a game. You're not gonna perform as well in a game or in a match or in a high stakes performance as you will in practice, but that's okay. You can still perform well even if you're not at your 100% best. How about this table?
You said it's like hard, especially during games or I don't know, matches or whatever, when you see like if your teammates or like something seems out of reach, like you're losing by a lot and like everyone around you is kind of down, it's like very easy to get down with them, like have no hope.
The energy factor, right? Yeah, and I think especially for team sports, I think everyone who plays team sports feels that, and it's why coaches are always, trying to coach energy and, your body language, and it really is, there's a physiological factor to that, where, the more energy you have as a team, the more energy the individuals will have, but I think that is, again, like something, especially in team sports, and then in individual sports too, like sometimes you feel like you're on an island, you're alone. And I think being able to kind of build that support system is huge. So I think these are some great responses, some great ideas within the mental game, and it is hard. This stuff is not easy. If it was easy, I wouldn't be up here talking, to be honest. It would just be something that everyone was good at. So I want to kind of go deeper into the mental game, because it is pretty arbitrary. It's a little bit abstract, and I like to break it down like this. The mental game is about two things. If you want to be better at the mental game, if you want to train your mind, if you want to be a more resilient athlete and person, you have to have actions that you can go to, which I like to think of as mental skills, things that you can do. This is a picture of Steph Curry taking a deep breath with his eyes closed in the middle of a game. So he's consciously choosing to do something in a moment where he's either nervous, tired, fatigued, whatever it may be. But instead of just being in his head thinking like, oh, I gotta play better, or we gotta win this game, he's deciding to do something. So whenever you're in your head, or you're nervous, or you're anxious, it's very easy to just try and think your way out of it. That's what your brain's naturally gonna do, but that's a lot of where overthinking comes from. So one of the best things you can do is to have an action, or I like to call it a mental skill. Also, I like to call it a tool in the toolbox, something that you can use when the going gets tough. The goal with the actions piece is to make it a habit. In the beginning, when I first started learning about this stuff, I had to tell myself, okay, take a breath right now. I had to remind myself, okay, I need to take a breath. My heart rate's up, I'm nervous. But I'm at the point now where I think I don't even need to say that, it just kind of happens. And I think that's a testament to what these elite level athletes have gotten to. They still get nervous, they're still in a state of anxiety sometimes. They feel pressure just like how we feel pressure in high stakes games. They just know what to do with it. They have the same exact feelings we have, but they don't let them affect them as much, because they're like, oh, this is this feeling, nervousness, so I do this. And it's seamless. It's something that just happens habitually. So that's the goal with all of the actions. You want to make it a habit. And I'll go deeper into that in a second. But the second piece is perspective. I love the two guys on the bus meme, one of my favorite memes, because it is like real life. This guy's looking out, they're in the same bus. This guy's looking out to a beautiful setting. This guy is looking into a pretty bleak setting, and they have two completely different mindsets. And the meme is really the fact that if you say this phrase, it's out of my control, which I heard a lot of people when I asked you, when is it hard to win the mental game? A lot of people brought up things that are out of their control, right? Like your teammate, like the person next to you, even just like the energy of your team. You can't really control that all the time. So you could either be, it's out of my control, hey, I don't need to worry about that, I'm just gonna focus on me. Or you could be like, this sucks, it's out of my control, there's nothing I can do. And that's really what I think of as the perspective piece to the mental game. You have to be able to shift your perspective sometimes. And I'll go deeper into one perspective shift that I can help you guys with today. But I'd say this is probably, something that has to happen in order for the actions to become seamless and habitual. If you are constantly in a state of nervousness in a game and you think that's bad and you're like, I'm never going to get through this nervousness, it's going to be hard to take a deep breath in that moment and feel the benefits. But if you're reminding yourself constantly that the nervousness I feel is natural, it's okay, it means I'm excited, it's not that bad, well, when you take that deep breath, you're far more likely to feel the benefits and get back to a baseline level. So these are really the two things within the mental game that I think are, it makes up the entire thing, and it makes it more simple. Because when I first heard about sports psychology and the mental game, I felt like it was so big. There was an umbrella around it and there was so much to talk about, but I like to really break it down with just actions and perspective. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper into, like I said, 2 actions that you can use in your sport or even just in your life, and then 1 perspective shift you can make. So like I mentioned, deep breaths or the breath or meditation, there's different ways to go about it, but I think being able to take a deep breath in the heat of the moment is one of the most valuable things you can do. And everyone here has done that before. So I'm not saying this is some revolutionary new concept, but what I'm saying is you could probably be focusing on this a little bit more. You could probably be doing this more than you already are. And I mean this before your performance, during your performance, and after your performance. But I want to show you guys some videos, just as a way to make it more tangible. Taking a deep breath is one thing, but there's a bunch of breathing exercises that you can do. I'm sure people have heard of box breathing. That's a very common one. But I'm going to show you 2 that maybe you haven't seen before. So this one is called Smell the Roses, and it is essentially, this is a baseball coach from the Little League World Series talking to his players. So I'll play the video and then we'll talk about it.
All right. Deep breath. Smell the roses. Blow out the candles. Smell the roses. Blow out the candles. Let's get a deep breath. Okay? Just stay relaxed.
Okay. Smell the roses. Blow out the candles. Does anyone have any idea why would he say those phrases to his player right there? Why would he say smell the roses to him? Yes.
I know, when someone's like stressed out, it can be hard to just take a deep breath and having physical things to associate with what you're doing and help you actually do the action without thinking about taking the breath.
I love that. That's so good. And it is exactly right. When you say smell the roses, and especially if you imagine what that is, smelling a rose, you're inhaling through your nose. So if you have something to say to yourself that's not like just breathe, I need to calm down, I need to take a breath. It's kind of ironic, but it actually works better. If you're telling yourself, don't think, don't mess up, I need to get present, I'm not present, you're essentially just shining light onto the stuff that is going wrong. You want to instead shift your perspective onto something that has nothing to do with your feelings or your emotions. So, when I think of smelling a rose, I think of a calming feeling. And it also literally gets you inhaling through your nose. So if you say smell the roses, you're inhaling through your nose. And then when you say blow out the candles, I like to think of a big birthday cake full of candles. So you're essentially breathing out through your mouth. And that is another thing within the breath that is very important is, I like I said, a big birthday cake full of candles is important because that extends your exhale. If your exhale is longer than your inhale, you're going to find your heart rate drops a little more, you're going to get a little more calmer, and you're going to put yourself back at baseline. If your inhales are longer than your exhales, that actually does the opposite, and you're probably going to feel a little more anxious and tense. So that's why we breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth, because when you breathe in through your nose, you're not going to inhale as much as you're exhaling through your mouth. So I want everyone to try this together. So if you're eating, go ahead and just finish your bite. Put your forks down or your spoons down, and I want everyone to sit with their chest open, and I want everyone to just close their eyes. And we're just going to do this for 30 seconds. It's not going to be long. But all I want you to do is, in your own head, say, smell the roses as you inhale through your nose. And then in your own head, say, blow out the candles as you exhale through your mouth. Go ahead and do that on your own pace for 30 seconds. Ready to go. Great job. You can open your eyes. Okay. The whole room got quiet. The whole energy changed. And I guarantee you, multiple people in this room had a random thought about that. About, oh, why is it so quiet now? Or what are my friends doing? And I just want to remind you, every situation you're in is an opportunity to train your mind and to work on the mental game. You know, for me, obviously, I was thinking about these people over here. They just stopped talking. They were being very respectful. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm like, they don't need to do that. Why are they doing that? Is this making it awkward? But in that moment, 3 seconds of that thought, I had to get back to the phrases. And that's why using those phrases can help, because it really does what I think is the most important piece of the actions part of the mental game. It is filling space in your brain. Instead of me just letting my mind go off and wander into all the different thoughts I might have during that 30 seconds, I'm staying anchored in the phrases, smell the roses, blow out the candles, and taking those breaths. So that's just one breathing exercise that you can use. You know, if you don't have to do that for 5 minutes. We did it for 30 seconds. I'll go one step further. If you just do that one time, you're going to find benefits over the course of doing it, because, like I said earlier, this is a skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it. The other breathing exercise I really like is, it's called the physiological sigh, and maybe people have seen this. I got it from
It's very safe and very effective.
I got it from Andrew Huberman, who's a neuroscientist. He's very popular, has a great podcast that I recommend. But this is, you know, physiological sigh. Another phrase for it is double inhale breathing. So I'll let him explain it.
Reduce your levels of stress in real time, maybe before public speaking or in whatever circumstance you feel you need to calm down in real time. So I'll demonstrate the physiological side for you here. So it's a deep inhale through the nose, followed by another brief inhale through the nose, and then a long exhale through the mouth, and it's like this.
Very weird, I agree.
And indeed, I feel calmer. And indeed, if you do it, you will feel calmer. It's a very safe and very effective.
Very weird, I know. You don't have to exhale like him, don't worry. But there is a physiological benefit to doing that. Funny enough, does anyone have a dog? Your dog does this. Your dog, if you've ever heard your dog make that exhale, that sigh, what it's doing is it's actually inhaling sometimes more than 2 times, because, you know, with their nose, they can go. And when you do that, you lower your heart rate. It is physiologically proven to help yourself deal with nerves, anxiety, and really just that expedited heart rate that you get when you have those feelings. So I want everyone to just try that together. You can do this with your eyes open. Don't worry, I don't expect you to exhale like him. But just try and make sure when you inhale, you don't want to inhale like to where you could have still inhaled more. Try and inhale to the point where you can't inhale anymore. So we'll do it on my cadence. Everyone, you're going to inhale through your nose. Inhale again, slow exhale through the mouth. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale through the nose, inhale again, slow exhale. Last one, inhale through the nose, inhale again, slow exhale. So, like I mentioned with the other video, even just doing that 2 to 3 times is beneficial. And I understand, trust me, that this stuff is weird. It is not normal. However, if you look at the top, if you go to the best athletes in the world, they're all doing this. So I usually think that that's a pretty good sign to do it when the average population is like, oh, that's weird, I don't want to do that. But then you look at the elite level athletes in the top of the world and they're all doing it. I think that's a pretty good sign that you can separate yourself. So yes, it's weird, but find a way to do it where it's pretty subtle to where you don't feel like it's weird, you don't have those thoughts. And also, if you think it's weird, I'll go back to what I said earlier. It's a great opportunity to train your mind and just be like, yeah, it's weird, but I know this is helping me, which a lot of elite athletes would agree it does. So the breath is a core mental skill. It is the core action that I teach athletes, but the other one is self-talk. And it's basically just how you talk to yourself. I mean, raise your hand if you had negative self-talk while you're playing your sport before. If you didn't raise your hand, you're lying. No way. It's impossible. We all have doubt. We all have those negative thoughts come up. So I'm not telling you don't have those. You cannot eliminate those. Those are going to happen. What I'm telling you is you need to counter those negative thoughts or self-talk with positive, motivating, or technique cues. So here's a great example of a track runner talking to herself right before she breaks the world record, and just notice what she's saying. So you can see the phrases she's saying. This is it. Drive down into the track. Keep running. Sprint. She's giving herself technique cues so she can shift her focus from her nerves or her negative thoughts about what's going to happen, and then she shifts it into the task at hand, which is for her, keep running, sprint, drive down into the track, keep going. The more you take your focus off of all that uncontrollable stuff and you put it on the things you can control, you're far more likely to perform in flow state and using muscle memory. Here's another great example, just as, just some inspirations for things you can say to yourself. These are a bunch of NFL players and how they talk to themselves. But I want you to really think about these phrases, because what I'm going to have us do is we're going to write down a phrase that could be your self-talk phrase. It's called a mantra or an affirmation, something that you can live by and use in your sport. So with this video and the last video, if you want to use any of the phrases, that works.
For play, I talk to myself. What kind of things you say? If I keep saying eyes, all I'm focused on.
Before the play and after the play, the voice acts as a guide.
Technique up. Technique play ball.
Come on, stay focused.
Make a play, Pete. Let my dad get it. Be great.
We'll play one play at a time.
Okay, so guys, if you could help hand these out. We're going to do a little exercise together. I have these name tags, and we'll pass around pens too, but if you have your own pen, that'd be great. You can pull that out. And I want you guys to write a phrase that you can see yourself saying to yourself in the heat of the moment in your sport or competition. And as you're thinking about those things, you can talk to your table mates, you can talk to people around you about maybe what are they going to write. I think that's a great way to kind of learn how to be collaborative about this. Also, as you're thinking, I'm just going to throw out some more phrases that I like. I like anything with the word just or keep. So if you say just play, just keep going, keep playing, stuff like that gets your mind off of what you might be nervous about and focuses more on the task at hand. I also like next play, or if you're in a different sport, it could be next shot, next pitch, next moment. But the more you get yourself into the next play, the less you're going to be stuck in the past. I also like things like I got this, you can do this, things that motivate you and get you, in the state of thinking that you can do something. And then the last piece is really like what the track runner did, just any technique cues you feel like are important for you. For me, I think as a basketball player, I constantly have to remind myself of balance. I'm not on balance if I'm not playing well, I'm not on balance. So you can have a technique cue as well. But I'll give you guys like 30 seconds to write it. And then what I want you to do with that name tag is I want you to put it somewhere where you can see it. Maybe that's in a binder, maybe it's in a notebook, maybe it's right on your chest. I don't care. But you got to put it somewhere. Put it on your backpack. Put it somewhere that you're going to see it again. Because just like I said earlier with the breath, it's a skill. Self-talk is also a skill. And it's something that you can get better at. But in order to get better at it, you got to say this phrase more than one time. You got to say it over and over and over again until it becomes ingrained in your mind. So once you've written that down, you can either just put that notebook or put that name tag in a notebook or a binder, or you can just put it in your backpack if you want to put it on something later. But really try and live by that phrase. It's a great thing to do to build your self-talk. Does anyone want to share theirs? Yes.
I put small target because when I play and things are really loud or pressure filled, it helps if I focus on a small target.
Yep, I would call that a technique cue. I love that. Yep.
Effort and decision making. Those are the only things you control.
I love that as well. Shifting your focus from uncontrollables to controllables. Self-talk is a great way to do that. Yes?
Be confident and trust yourself.
Be confident and trust yourself. Why does that help you?
I trust in my training so I don't get nervous. I think when I'm nervous, my touches are worse, my shots are worse. But when I trust myself, then things just happen to go.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Well, I think that is something that, those two actions right there, the breath and self-talk, and actually I'll go back, because those two actions should not feel separate. They really should be done together, and this is the perfect example of it. Simone Biles, the greatest gymnast ever. This is right before she got on the balance beam in the 2024 Olympics. She's nervous. She's the best in her sport, she's the best at her craft, and she's nervous, which again, shows you. It's not about not being nervous. It's not about not feeling the negative feelings or the negative thoughts. It's about knowing what to do with them. So, as you can see here, she looks nervous. So what does she do? She takes a deep breath and says, "You got this." That is the last thing she did before she got on that balance beam. And it shows you that she is trained mentally. She knows what she's going to do every time she feels those pre-performance jitters. So I would encourage you to do these two actions together. You can do them back to back. If you take a deep breath and you use self-talk, that is essentially the pillars of the mental game. That is how you train the mind effectively. Now, you might not feel a lot of benefit if you do it one time, and that's why you need to understand that these are skills. They are habits. So the more you do them, the more you're going to feel the benefits from them. So they have to be consistent. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the perspective side of it. And this is just one perspective shift that I think all athletes and really all people can make. Because something that all athletes feel is pressure. And I know on the flyer it says performance under pressure for this, for this talk today. And I think that is the number one thing that athletes struggle with, is that feeling of pressure and how do you deal with that? What do you do when there's pressure? And the number one counter to pressure, I have it written right here, is gratitude. And if you are able to focus on how you're grateful for the situation you're in, rather than how this situation is going to either make or break me and the stakes of the situation, if you can just focus on the gratitude for the situation instead, it will physiologically change how you feel, and it will shift your thoughts and your entire perspective. So I want to show you how elite athletes get to this. This is a video from Coco Gauff, and just notice how she answers the question about pressure, because she still feels pressure, but like I've said multiple times, she just knows what to do with that feeling.
At first, I used to think negative things like, why is this so much pressure? Why is this so hard? Blah, blah, blah. And I realized that this isn't, in a way, it's pressure, but it's not. I mean, there's people struggling to feed their families. There's people who don't know when their next meal is going to come from. There's people who have to pay their bills, and that's real pressure. That's real hardship. That's real life. And this, I'm in a very privileged position. I'm getting paid to do what I love and getting support to do what I love, and that's something that I don't take for granted. So really, I just put my life into perspective. Especially in New York, I just feel like you see that perspective a lot more, especially compared to where I live. I have a lucky life, and so I should enjoy it. I know there's millions of people who probably want to be in this position that I am now. So instead of saying why this, why that, I should just be like, why not me? Why am I not enjoying this? I should. And yeah, I just told myself, I should enjoy this. I'm having so much fun doing it, and I should not think about the results and think about this. I'm very lucky life, and I'm so blessed, and I don't want to take it for granted. So that's the reason why I think it's just putting my life in perspective and realizing how grateful and blessed I am. At first, I used.
You heard at the end how grateful and blessed I am. That's her getting to gratitude instead of focusing on why is this so much pressure. And I like to think of this as a simple phrase: pressure is a privilege. She's realizing that she feels all this pressure, And it's actually not even a bad thing. It means she's succeeding. It means she's done great things in her life. You know, she said, I'm getting paid to do what I love. You might not be getting paid to play sports, but you do have support around you to play your sport. You do have the opportunity to play competitive sports, which, to be honest, I would die for right now. I mean, I played basketball in college and professionally. I can't find a good basketball game anywhere around here anymore. It just doesn't exist. So you don't realize it in the moment, but finding gratitude for the fact that you get to compete in your sport is such a valuable perspective shift whenever you feel pressure. So that's pressure is a privilege. It's a great perspective shift from pressure. The other one is pressure is an illusion. And this is Sidney McLaughlin LeBron. This is funny how this is an interview that, you know, interviewees or the media will try and really get athletes to think about pressure sometimes. You'll hear it, he asks her the question, how are you handling all of this pressure? That'd be like me going up to you, like, how much pressure do you feel right before this event? You don't have to answer, trust me, it sucks. Because when you start to think about that, you're like, whoa, yeah, it is a lot of pressure. I don't want to fail. I don't want to fall flat on my face. But listen to how she answers that type of question.
And how are you compartmentalizing, the pressure and expectation on you to come here and win gold as the world record holder in your day?
Pressure's an illusion. It's what you make it. So I'm just here to have fun and represent my country.
Very well, thanks. And how are you compartmentalizing, the pressure and expectation on you to come here and win gold as the world record holder in your day?
Pressure's an illusion. It's what you make it. So
Pressure is an illusion, it's what you make it. So that's the first piece of it, right? Pressure is an illusion, it's not even real. This isn't pressure, you know? Like, when you're playing in your sport, you might feel pressure, but it's really not. I mean, pressure would be not knowing where your next meal is going to come from, right? Like Coco Gauff said. Pressure is, in sports, it is self-inflicted. It is what you make it. If you decide that this moment is life or death, then your perspective is going to put you in a place where you're nervous and you're fearful and you're thinking about what could go wrong. But if you, like she says at the end here,
I'm just here to have fun and represent my country.
if instead you're like, no, pressure isn't even real, I'm literally just here to have fun and represent my country, that's pretty sick. I have USA on my chest. She's not thinking about how she has to carry USA on her shoulders. She's thinking about the fact that I've done so much work and now I get to wear USA on my chest. So she's thinking about it from the standpoint of gratitude. And that is something that is a simple perspective shift that isn't easy. It's not necessarily easy to do, but it's, again, just like everything, something you have to train. The more you are in these high pressure environments where you're stressed, or, you know, it also could be in school, it could be in a social setting. You know, I personally always felt pressure in a social setting, believe it or not. Like if I was around new people, or if I was with friends I wasn't really fully comfortable with, I would hyperanalyze what I was saying, and if people liked me or not. You know, it's the comparison side of it. So instead, I focus on the fact that, like, this isn't even real pressure. These people it doesn't matter what I said, you know? I'm more likely to be myself, and I'm more likely to have a better social outing. So the one key with gratitude that I think everyone needs to understand, and a lot of people don't, is the why. And what I mean by that is, if I were to ask everyone, I'm not going to, but if I were to ask everyone to like pull out a notebook or a piece of paper and write 3 things you're grateful for, I bet I would get a lot of the same things. My family, my house, my dog, my school, my friends. And it's good to think about that, but if you don't go into the why of gratitude, you're not really going to tap into the feeling of gratitude as well. So what I mean by that is, like, instead of saying, I'm grateful for my family, dive deeper into that thought and ask yourself why. Why are you grateful for your family? Well, they support me unconditionally when I have a bad game. Boom. Now you've instantly gone deeper into that gratitude, and it's something that can help you. So for me, pressure is one of the most important perspective shifts that athletes have to make, because you all feel it. It happens to everyone. And these are 2 great ways to do that. Pressure is a privilege, pressure is an illusion. Both of those things are rooted in gratitude. So with that being said, I want to play a game, because we've talked about the action side of the mental game, we've talked about the perspective side of the mental game. And what I want to do here is train those things. So I'm going to put you guys in a little bit of a tough game here. I'll just explain it. It's written down, but I'll explain it. We're going to count to a certain number sequentially when I say go. Can you get a count for me? How many people are in the room? Only one person can say a number. Maybe you guys have seen this on TikTok or whatever you guys are on these days. But one person can say a number. If 2 or more people say that number, then they're out. So for example, I'm going to say go, and someone in this room has to say 1. If 2 people say 1, you 2 are out. If 1 person says 1, okay, now someone has to say 2. If 2 people say 2 or 3 people say 2, you're out. And we're going to keep going until we get to 37. So we'll keep going until we get to 36. Every time someone gets out, we'll drop that number, because the only thing that you have to think about is the fact, if you're like, oh, I just won't say a number. Well, if we get all the way to the end and you haven't said a number, you're out. So you have to find that balance of, do I say a number now? Do I say it later? Do I just wait? All of the thoughts are going to be going through your head, but you're going to have to just decide what you want to focus on. Are you going to focus on all those thoughts and overthink it? Or are you just going to go for it and say it? But if you just go for it and say it, you might say it at the same time as someone else. So try and find the balance of the mental game within this game. The goal is to get to the last 2 standing. The last 2 standing win. If we got to 2, I don't think the game would really work. So we'll say the last 2 are the winners. Okay? So I'm just going to say the G word, go. Not yet. But when I say that, it's on. Okay? Ready? Go.
1.
Oh. Who said that? Okay.
2.
No, we're back at 1. I didn't say go yet. Wait a minute. So if you just said 1, you 3, you're out. So you don't have to say anything. Now the number down, we're down to 33. Ready? Go.
1.
2.
3.
Oh. 3 and 3. I heard it from 2 people. You're out. Okay, we're down to 34. Ready, set, go.
1.
2.
3. 4. 5.
Oh. We're down to 32. Ready, set, go.
1.
2.
3.
4.
5.
I didn't hear that.
6.
Oh, I didn't hear that. If you just said 6, you're out. I'm going to drop the number even lower to make it a little more, you're thinking even more about it. We're going to drop the number to 25. So you really have to say something. If you don't, there might be 6 or 7 or 8 people who are out. Ready, set, go.
1.
2.
Oh. If you said 2, you're out. Ready, set, go.
1.
2.
3.
4.
5.
Oh. 5. Right? I heard 2 5s. I'm not sure if I'm wrong. Oh, you only heard 1? I thought, did you say 5? Okay.
I said 5.
You said 5. Sorry, you're out. Okay, we're keeping the number at 25. Ready, set, go.
1.
2. 3.
4.
5. 6.
7.
8. 9. 10.
11. 12. 13.
14.
16.
17.
Oh, that was our best round yet. If you said 17, you're out. Okay, I'm going to put the number at 20. Put the number at 20. So if we get all the way to 20 and you didn't say a number, you're out. Ready, set, go.
1.
2.
3.
4. 5. 6. 7. 8.
9. 10. 11.
12. 13.
15. Did you say 15 or 16?
15.
Okay, we're good.
16. 17.
18.
19. 20.
Wow. Did anyone not say a number, but you were still in the game? Be honest, don't worry, I'm not going to punish you. Okay. Why didn't you say a number? I'm curious.
Oh, no. Because I knew someone else.
It's that give and take, right? You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if someone's going to say it. You don't want to say it. But that is essentially the mental game. You don't know if you're going to play well. You don't know if you're going to, have a great game or have a poor game. But sometimes in sports and in life, you just got to go for it. And if you just go for it, you're far more likely to learn from that experience. But if you just don't go for it ever and you sit there, I'm not trying to say this to belittle you guys at all. It's just part of the game. You're just going to eventually uncover the exact same lesson over and over and over again. I should have went for it. I should have gone for it. So I just want to finish by saying that. You know, we'll finish the game just in the interest of time, but I just want you guys to understand that the mental game is a daily thing that you can work on. You can do it in your sport, but you can also do it in school when you're sitting at home by yourself. The mental game is a daily battle that you can always win, but it requires you to focus on those two things: the actions you need to do and the perspectives you need to have. So I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. We're going to do a Q&A before we end it, so if there's any questions, I think we have a couple minutes for maybe a few questions. Okay. This can be a question about anything. Yeah.
Which college did you play for?
I went to Whitman College. It's a small school up in Washington State. Yes.
So I guess when you go through your own coaching and you take someone on, like, what is your process with it?
Yeah, I would say I have a system in place. So it's really called mental skills training, and it's rooted in having one mental skill every time I work with an athlete or a kid or elite level professional. It's always going to be rooted in one mental skill, and we're going to build on that. So for example, the very first thing I'll always talk about with people is the importance of being present. And in order to be present, you have to get really good at using your breath, because the breath is that number one tool that gets you into the present moment. Now there's other pieces on it, and obviously I am pretty flexible. If someone is coming to me with a specific thing that they want to work on, then I'll adjust from there. But I do have a system that is in place for every athlete that I work with, and it just builds on the mental game one skill at a time.
How long, would you suggest working with you?
I would say, within a month or two, you should start definitely feeling the difference in regards to just like how you're thinking and how you're performing, and in regards to just like how you feel when you're playing your sport. But I've worked with athletes now for up to 3 years, and I think it's a great thing. Like I said, it's always important to train it. It's a great way to kind of, one, air out your thoughts and air out your feelings, but two, also continue to build on the mental game and maybe train some things that you got away from throughout the course of your sport. Maybe one more?
How did you grow your user base to 80,000?
My Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good, if you guys want to see more of this stuff, it's on Instagram, it's FindJoeFlow. I basically just post professional athletes talking about the mental game. All the videos we watched today were from that. I would say just consistency and applying the mental game to Instagram. I didn't get any results for 2 or 3 years. I posted with like 10 likes, 20 likes the whole time. But I stayed focused on the process. I enjoyed what I was doing. And next thing I know, I post videos and they go viral. But I wasn't focused on that at all. I was focused on helping others and spreading the mental game to as many people as I could. And then the results just happened, which is a testament to the mental game.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Joey, thank you so much for speaking to Nueva. Yeah, so if you're interested in any of his work, definitely check out his Instagram. I think his website, too?
Yep.
Yes. And again, if you haven't signed, put your name down on the form. I believe it's back there. Yeah, it's on that back table. So put your name down if you're interested in future events like these. And thank you so much. Feel free to grab food on your way out as well. Thank you.